All right, joining us now, multiple-time guest of the Autumn Windbags. You can catch him at the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sports writer, Nevada Sportswriter of the Year, Adam Hill, back in the Autumn Windbags.
And just so your viewers and listeners know that, you weren't going to do that, and I said you have to. Like, you have to address me that way.
And I was not going to say no.
Why would you? There's no way.
I think you get thrown in jail in the state of Nevada for disobeying your orders now.
That was part of the announcement for sure. So I'm excited about that.
Do you get like a key to the city? I mean, in all seriousness, congratulations. Like, people
That's
like
awesome,
you're a humble guy. You're not going to toot your own horn, but we will beep. Like this is a big deal, right? Congratulations, seriously.
It's cool.
Awesome.
It's cool because it's voted, by your peers and people around the state and the broadcasters and writers of the state. So it's cool to be recognized. But yeah, I'm not going to run around and do bad. There are people that, trust me, have like gotten carried away with this, like that have won it in the past and gotten obnoxious. That's not going to be me. I think there's like a plaque and a certificate or something. I'm not going to the ceremony. I'm just gonna accept it in the mail.
Do you want? Okay, no. Can Soto accept your award on your behalf?
Bro, I'll fucking do it.
Sure, if you want. It's in North Carolina though, so
he'll go.
So all the state award winners have to go to North Carolina. So it'll be a good time.
That is an underrated airport, the North Carolina airport.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
There you go. Sign me up. Hey, when your salary negotiations come up, whenever that may be.
Yeah, true. Right in there.
Your cap. There you go.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this award.
Yeah, it's a big deal, right? All right. So off season, shit season. I would say most disappointing season in the last 20 years.
No.
Up there?
17.
No? So there's a lot of choices there. I don't know if you want to separate that from some of those other spots.
Well, there's been in the last 20 years, I've been in the playoffs twice, right? So I feel like the years after that, I've got to be top two, right?
Yeah, look, I think it's disappointing for a couple of reasons. First, it's to me, if I were a fan, I'm not a fan. Obviously, I cover the team. I kind of follow it in a different perspective. But to me, if I were a fan,
Nevada State Sportswriter of the Year would not
unbiased.
Be biased.
That's true.
Yeah,
got to be unbiased and play it down the middle. But to me, if I was a fan, I'd be disappointed because they bought into, and I think we've talked about this before, but they bought into fool's gold to me, and. It's easy to say in retrospect, but this is what I was saying last offseason. I didn't understand why you would take that team last year, which I thought was kind of trash, that made the playoffs on smoke and mirrors by beating a bunch of backup quarterbacks and getting some really fluky plays late in games and making the playoffs. And you're like, yes, this is a team that is ready to make one or two moves and be a Super Bowl contender. Like, that's not what that team was. I never thought that's what it was. Now, then you go in the offseason and you're like, all right, we're getting Devontae Adams, we're getting Chandler Jones, which – in retrospect, yikes. But, we're making these additions. You're making moves last offseason that would indicate you think you're ready to win a Super Bowl. And I never thought that was the case. And so I'd be disappointed that the build, whatever build is coming, whatever you're trying to build for long-term sustainability, which is what they talk about, is a year behind. Like, that's what I would be disappointed about, not the results of the season, because the results were about what they were. If you look at the season win total, right there, like they finished right where they were supposed to. They finished in the division where they were supposed to, like all those things. If you look at the odds and the prognostications and some of the metrics that were out there, like that's what they were supposed to do, and they did exactly that. But now you're a year behind of trying to build something sustainable for the future. Now you've moved on from your quarterback. You got to figure that out. That should have been done last offseason. I didn't think they should run it back with Derek Carr, but they did. All of those things are there, and now you're a year behind.
Yeah, it's refreshing to hear somebody with such great knowledge and insight pretty much mirror exactly what I've said.
Well, you have great knowledge and insight clearly because you're on that. But yeah, look, I think that they bought into that magical, hey, we made the playoffs, right? Like it's like this magical thing of you made the playoffs, you're ready to go to the next step. Like that's not always the case. And it's just, I just think people get too caught up in that. And look, you look around the AFC, look, it's not going to be easy either. Like there's years and years of difficult roads ahead. Like what are you trying to build for? You have to beat all these top teams. Now some of them are going to run into some issues. I think, once you start paying quarterbacks, it changes the dynamic. So I would have liked to see the Raiders do everything they can to build every other position and then try to drop in a, rookie quarterback because that's the way to build a team right now. But look, doesn't seem to be where they're going. And they're also in a tough spot now because what do you do if you're Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, if you're guaranteed 5 years, 4 years, yeah, you can do that and get a rookie quarterback and try to build up and be good in 3 years. But I don't know that they have that
guaranteed
time.
This unit's guaranteed 4 years.
That's what I'm saying. They're not.
Okay.
They're absolutely not. So they can't do it the right way.
Yeah.
So I know that's frustrating for people to hear, but like what they should do is probably not what they are going to do because who knows if they're going to be around. And I think a lot of fans would say, I don't want them around if they don't win this year. Well, the right way you should not be putting a Band-Aid on this team. Like you should be building for the future, and they're not going to have time to do that. So now they're going to be even more, further behind because they're probably going to try to do everything they can to win as many games as they can this year, which is not what they should be doing. And now they're going to be another year behind next year. So I know it's very frustrating in that regard, but that's just where they're at.
Dude, this is the exact verbiage that I've been saying. Is every year they just slap a bunch of Band-Aids on stuff, and they follow a quarterback that isn't going to get them where they want to go, and they keep slapping. Okay, well, let's give them a good offensive line, and let's give them good weapons, and let's just kind of give them a bunch of different things. It doesn't work out, but let's keep slapping Band-Aids on here. And it's like you don't do what you're supposed to do, what the good teams do. Like, look, Green Bay having a Hall of Fame quarterback for like 35 years straight doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Okay, you got to be shitty for a little bit and then build the right way and come back up. And we haven't done that. And all these people that are crucifying me because they want to get rid of McTrash or whatever else they call him. I'm like, dude, you gave our old quarterback 9 seasons and you won't give our head coach 1?
Well, time out. Like, what one?
I'm
with you that Josh McDaniels, you don't get rid of him after 1 season. We've both been in complete agreement.
Give him at least 3 seasons, man.
3 now?
Yes.
You've been on the record to say if next season starts like this season, he's gone. You've said that on this show. Are you changing that?
No, I didn't say I wanted him gone. That's what you wanted to hear.
No.
I said
he's gone.
No. See, look, this is what I said. I said that yes, he doesn't last another season if he wins 6-7 games. Okay. And that's because Mark Davis will fire him. I'm not saying I wouldn't stick with him.
Well, continuity is important, but on the flip side, Josh McDaniels has yet to prove he's a competent head coach. Right? We can all agree he's never proven that. Didn't in Denver, so far hasn't here. Right? So it's not like you're like, hey, he's proven it. Let him work his system. He's still on you have to prove you're worth being a head coach in this league. And you don't get 4 or 5 years to do that. You get 2. And you went from, I'm with you. Like all the close games last season we won, all the close games this season we lost. We regressed back to the mean. So that's part of it, right? But you don't go from a 10-win team to a 6-win team and be like, all right, trust the process. Like you don't get that.
Well, if you're like a slave to numbers and you don't take a look at the deeper numbers behind it, just like Adam said, you won a lot of games you should have won. Like again, people are giving Carr credit for the 4-game winning streak last year. That's like probably one of the worst 4-game stretches of his career. He had like multiple turnovers every single game, and this fluke plays, the leg of Carlson, that's how they were winning these games. And it's like, you have to take a look at what was actually going on. What was actually going on this year is you had 4 games where you scored 6 points total in the second half. You had a game where you had Chargers' first game where you threw 3 interceptions, 2 in the fourth quarter, and another game where the quarterback couldn't get you past the 50-yard line the whole entire game.
And now that Carr's gone, Josh McDaniels should flourish.
No, you should see a little bit more of a steadiness.
It depends who's there.
Yeah. That's the biggest question right this offseason, right, Adam, is who's QB1 next season?
Yeah, I think it's obviously a massive question, and option 1 is gone now. So that's not going to happen. So whatever people want to think or believe or whatever it was, Tom Brady was option 1. Like that was the plan. That was what they were going to do. But I also think
when you say they, Adam, we know Mark Davis wanted it. Do you think McDaniels, Ziegler, everyone was like on board with that?
Yes, it was option 1. Yeah, for the team, it was option 1. There's no question. That was going to happen. I think it's been discussed behind the scenes. I think it's been talked about. I think the plan was if Tom wants to play another season, it will be here. That was always the plan. Now, I think that they were prepared for this. Like, I don't think that they just put all their eggs in that basket and said that's what's going to happen, because they knew. I think that they believed it was close to 50-50. If he plays, it's here. If he doesn't, obviously they have to go in a different direction. But I think that they've been preparing, plan B, plan C, plan D as well. But Tom Brady was the plan. And I want to say this. I don't know how much of Seinfeld people you guys are, but there's an episode that I love so much, and I think it has to do with what happened today with some of the reaction, where Kramer said that he was going to build levels in his apartment. He was going to have all these levels that build higher and higher. And then all of a sudden he said, I decided not to do that. And Jerry's like, yeah, that was the bet. I said you weren't going to do it. And he's like, no, I could still do it. I just don't want to. And it's just like this whole thing of like, yeah, that was my bet that you wouldn't want to do it. So like today, when Tom Brady announces he's retiring and people are like, I knew he wasn't coming here. You guys were all idiots and liars. Like, okay, the point was, if he plays, he's coming here. If he doesn't, he's obviously not. But this was the plan. Now, I do think it changed. The last couple of days, I think San Francisco was open. I think that all of a sudden it was like, oh, maybe with Brock Purdy potentially missing next year, who knows? Maybe Brady could go there. But I think that there was pretty much a plan that if Brady was going to come back, he was going to come here. But it was never certain he was going to come here. So now you have to move down and look at option, B, C, D potentially. And I think because, and again, this goes back to the way that they're going to build this roster and this franchise. If they had their choice, and by they I mean Ziegler and McDaniels, they would draft a rookie quarterback, develop him, and that would be their option. They'd start a rookie next year. I think that's what they want to do. But I don't think they have that time. And I don't think they believe they have that time. So they can't build the roster the way they want to. They can't build the team the way they want to because of that external pressure of, yeah, you can say that we're building for 3, 4, 5 years from now. But if you're not going to be here, then what's the point? Like, you have to win games in order to put that plan in place. So I think the plan will be to find a veteran, to bring somebody in to be the starter for a bridge quarterback. I think they will draft somebody. I do think – sorry, I got to plug in here, guys. Sorry about that. I do think that the quarterback they wanted to draft is probably not going to be their – I think that they had a quarterback in mind that was probably going to be a 3rd or 4th round pick. And now potentially looks like he might be a 1st-round pick. And so now I don't think that that's going to be necessarily on the table, because I don't think they want to draft somebody in the 1st round that they thought they can get in the 3rd or 4th. So now who knows what direction they go. I don't think they use a 1st-round pick on a quarterback, but they might. And I do believe Garoppolo and Rodgers are probably the top 2 candidates right now to be the quarterback next year. But it's, all these things are factors. Like, you can't just say, well, they want to build with a veteran. Well, they want to win games so they can keep their jobs. Like, that's the bottom line. And so they might not be able to go the direction they want to.
Would you be betraying your source if you said the name of this 3rd or 4th round quarterback?
I think it's very obvious who it would be, right? I mean, somebody that a month and a half ago was projected to go in the 3rd round and now is projected to potentially go in the top 10. Mm-hmm. There was only 3 quarterbacks before that were projected to go in the top 10, and now there's potentially 4.
Okay.
Does the name Stanton Ryan Smanson Smithson?
Possible.
You've been banging that drum a while.
I like the kid, man. Look, yeah. if you can convince Mark Davis, like, look, man, we could win right now if we got Tom Brady. That's not going to happen. We can get one of these young kids. We can develop them. You just got to give us a little bit of extra time to do this. This is our plan. They freaking hit him with the plan. You don't think Mark Davis will go for it?
I don't know. I mean, how much do you trust that too, right? I mean, if you go to him and say, this is what we want to do. We believe in 2 or 3 years, this guy is going to be whatever, the next Josh Allen / Joe Burrow, whatever. But it's going to take a while. He's not ready to be that right now. But we want to draft him. We want to play him. And we're probably going to be terrible next year. But we need to be around and we need to put this plan in place. And he says, yeah, go ahead. And then they're 0-6 to start next year. I mean, does he hold up his end of the bargain and say, I'm not suggesting that Mark Davis is not a man of his word or anything like that, but It's one thing to say I'm on board. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to be an owner and to have fans screaming and yelling and furious and angry and not react to that. Right. So I think unless there was some, maybe extension or something done with their contracts or whatever they would have to be to guarantee that everybody's on board with this plan of being bad in order to develop a quarterback, that's what they'd have to do. And I don't know that fans have that appetite right now. I don't think they do. And, for me, if I was a fan, I would be totally on board with that because I want the future success. But a lot of people aren't. Look, people get mad at teams for tanking. I mean, there are fans that, if your team, look at the Jets should have had Trevor Lawrence. And I remember when they won that game late in the year and some of their fans were celebrating. And I remember sitting at the sports book at the Westgate, the Superbook here in Vegas, screaming at them that they're morons. I was like, you want this temporary success of winning a stupid, meaningless game over potentially having a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence for the next 15 years? That's what you're happy about right now? And they're like, well, it's today compared to the future. Like, this is instant gratification is what people are all about. And I'm not saying people are wrong about that, but there's not a lot of people that have an appetite for that. Yeah, there's not that many people that have that appetite for it.
Look, we've been losing anyway. So what's the fucking difference? So isn't there a middle ground? Isn't there like, okay, I'm not saying yes or no, but let's say if we get somebody like a Jimmy G, okay, Steady Eddie, you can't tell me that he's that much better, that much worse than Derek Carr, okay? Skill
durability, yes.
Wait, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about his skill set. We're talking about
skill set. I won't fight you.
Okay,
durability is real though.
But also, he knows the system a little bit better. He's used to being coached by McDaniels. Not going to get that, oh, woe is me, freaking Eeyore bullshit, right? Okay, so you can roll with Jimmy G, who's going to cost you not as much as Derek Carr cost you. You can sign him for a couple of years, guaranteed, and then a couple of fun years at the end that you can get out of. You can still draft that young quarterback and have a Jimmy G, so you can still be competitive and have your quarterback for the future coming up. Is that something that you think they can go for?
I mean, that'd probably be my plan. That's what I would do, especially if Garoppolo is as affordable as he might be. Now, if there's a bidding war on Garoppolo and some of these teams are desperate for a quarterback and now all of a sudden you have to pay him 28, 29, I don't know that I'd be interested in that. But if it was 15 to 20, that'd be my plan. Garoppolo would be my number one option right now. Draft a quarterback to develop and play it out that way. Actually, my real number one option, if I was in charge of the team, would be that Chase Garbers is starting next year and we're losing every game and getting Caleb Williams. That's my plan.
That'd be sweet.
I mean, that would be absolutely the plan to put in place. But I don't know that the appetite is there for that. So I think if you're going to try to at least be respectable, have a chance, with this roster and Jimmy Garoppolo, is there a chance they can sneak in? Yeah, they could probably sneak into the playoffs if that's what people want. So get Garoppolo, develop a quarterback, be okay, and then you hope that your quarterback hits and that you're able to compete with some of these top teams in a couple of years. And having a quarterback on a rookie deal we've seen is the way to get to Super Bowl.
Does Jarrett Stidham fit anyway in this plan at all?
I mean, I wouldn't hate it. From what I understand, I think he has a really good relationship with the coaching staff. I have talked to some people that said he's very interested in coming back. But there could also be other teams out there that really want him. They saw what he did the last couple of games, and maybe they believe in him and want to take a chance on him. So we'll see what happens to him in free agency. But I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that either. I think I'd put him number 2 option for me behind Garoppolo. I don't think Rodgers would be my choice. I would love it. I would love it from a media perspective. I would love to, to have him around, to have press conferences around him, to kind of talk to him. I'd like to see the Rodgers, Devontae Adams dynamic again. All those things would be great. But I don't know that he'd be up there. I think my choices right now, if I was running the team, would be Garoppolo 1, again with a rookie draft pick that you make, and then Stidham probably 2. And I guess Rodgers kind of a distant 3rd behind there, and then we'll see who else comes available.
Yeah, I'm not keen on trading draft picks to get Aaron Rodgers in that thick ass contract. That's going the wrong direction, I think.
Yeah, he expressed some openness to renegotiating the deal and figuring that out. But the cap hit isn't ridiculous. The problem would be if you kind of push some of that money back, which they would obviously do, and it's already kind of into his contract where you can push some of the money back. Then if you have him for a year or even 2, you've got all this dead cap money after that. So you're kind of hamstringing yourself for the future to take a chance to try to win next year, which with him around, could they win a Super Bowl? I don't know, but would they make the playoffs? I would think that there's probably a good chance that they would.
Yeah.
So, what are you trying to do? I think that's the question. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to win a Super Bowl, or are you trying to be competitive and make the playoffs every year? Like, there's two directions you could go. And, not that you're going to guarantee success with either direction, but you have to decide what your plan is.
If you had to put money on it, what do you think they would do moving? I mean, I don't know what you want, but what do you think they will do?
I think Garoppolo is their next step. I think that's their fallback option from Brady for now. Again, we don't know what's going to happen in this market, and keep in mind, not only is Brady gone from the Raiders' plans, but that's one less quarterback available. Where we're talking about like kind of this carousel of quarterbacks and who lands where. Like, this is probably a good thing for Derek Carr because it's one less quarterback that's out there, and probably money for him. It's probably more money for Garoppolo. So, that kind of takes away if you're looking to save money by signing Garoppolo. Well, now there's going to be other teams that are like, well, maybe that's our option too. So one less quarterback available at the top makes all those guys more expensive and makes it tougher to find a cheap option.
Yeah, Tommy Tuckrell was the first chip to fall, right? I feel like everyone was kind of waiting to see what he does, and then everyone makes their decisions moving on. And you touched on it. What have you heard as far as where Derek Carr could go? Are there negotiations pending? Is there something close? Is no one biting at all? Like, what's going on that you've heard on in those walls about Derek Carr?
And we want names. We want names, okay?
Yeah, I
want to know how many first-round picks. I want to know exactly. Give me everything.
0. I'll tell you that right now. We knew from the beginning it was going to be complicated because of the contract, because of the dates on that contract, right? It's coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
3 days after the Super Bowl? There's got to be a decision made from the Raiders' perspective, and it's gotten even more complicated than it was before, because before we thought, okay, the Raiders have to make a decision if they're going to trade or cut him by 3 days after the Super Bowl. And if they don't have any offers on the table, if they don't have anything firm in place, and Derek Carr hasn't agreed to it because he has a no trade up through that point, then they're just going to have to cut him. Like, they just have to release him and let him go, because they can't take a chance of letting that contract get guaranteed and then making a deal with nothing in place. So they'd have to cut him. And we thought that was going to be the biggest sticking point. That was going to be the biggest holdup for a potential deal. But it really turns out that the team doesn't want him to go out and negotiate a contract with anybody that would be contingent on them trading him to them, because then the other team that he negotiated to deal with would tell him, hey, just say no to a trade and we'll just sign you as a free agent after they cut you. Mm-hmm. And so the team doesn't want him to negotiate, and he doesn't want the team to trade him somewhere else. So it's gotten to be even more of a sticking point than we even thought it would be. So, I mean, my sense is that they're probably going to end up having to just release him. I don't think there's going to be anything I don't think there's going to be anything able to be made. Now, it's possible somebody comes in and gives them a big offer, and it's a team that Carr wants to go to and a team that want to renegotiate with him. Those things are all possible. So, I think that I just saw some Golden Knights news flash across. That's interesting.
This is a Kings podcast, Adam. Keep the night stuff to yourself.
Yeah, no, sorry. Well, it's probably good news for the Kings, I would imagine, that if Mark Stone did have surgery just now, that probably is pretty tough for the rest of the year. I think that because of all the weird contract situation, I think it's going to be tough to make the deal. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to be able to. I think there are teams talking to them and interested, but on a couple of levels, like, why would he just accept a trade anywhere if he thinks that there's a deal better for him out there somewhere else?
Yeah. And
why would the team trade him somewhere if they're going to have that month where they're kind of worried about whether it's actually going to go through or not? So it's on both sides. I think it's kind of gotten to a weird point where I do think they're going to end up having to cut him. I think that's going to be what the end result of this is. And then who's interested in it? I think the wild card to me that I think some people have talked about, but not enough, would be the Saints, which I think would be a very interesting spot for him to go. Tampa Bay now, I think, is probably a potential option, or Carolina. So I think pretty much anywhere in the NFC South would be an option for him. And then, Jets, Colts. I know that, Pat McAfee's making a big push for Aaron Rodgers to the Colts, and he's trying to kind of facilitate that deal, it sounds like. But I think Colts and Jets are out there. If I were Derek and his people, I'd cross the Jets off the list, because I think they're ready. I love their defense. I love their coaching staff. I think it's a perfect situation, except for, and this is cliche, and I know everybody talks about it, but climate, not good for him to be in wind and cold. And the bigger thing that I don't think enough people have talked about, I don't think Derek Carr is ready for New York media. I just don't think it will happen.
I could not disagree more.
Because Derek Carr can do no wrong in your eyes.
No,
that's why
Carr's poisoned Soto's mind. He turns everything into Carr.
Bro,
you show me. Give me one example. Bro. Give me one example of a player who's gone to New York and fell apart because of the New York media.
Well, I mean, there's examples of baseball for sure. I mean, we've seen them over the years. Football is different.
Example you can think of?
But who is like Derek Carr?
A lot of people.
I don't know.
Sure.
A lot of the televangelists that make you think there's something else than they are.
Well, I know, and you're acting you're thinking like no one's talking about it. Everyone talks about that. Like all the time, people say, "Oh, you're going to New York, you're going to fall apart. The New York media is so tough." It's like, sure, it is, but has that affected guys on the football field where the media has been so tough? I think they haven't performed on the football field. Like that never happens. I'm not saying it's impossible.
Heaven forbid someone from the media actually knows and feels something about how media can treat players.
I just look, being around Derek. I think it's a weird spot off camera, off microphone. Like you talk to Derek in the locker room, cool, like you like him. Good dude, cool guy, like gets along with people, like he's a good dude. And there's something about him when he gets on a microphone that is just weird. It's strange. It's not genuine. It's all those things. And I think that I won't say he's been given a pass. I'm one of the people that talks to him every day or every Wednesday when he does media, every Sunday after the game. Like, and then in the locker room, like I'm around him all the time. And you just see those little areas where he's about to kind of crumble. And I'm not going to say let off the hook's not the right word, but like everybody kind of understands, like, okay, you just move on to the next question. We're good. Like that wouldn't happen in New York. Like, and I'm not criticizing myself or other people around me. Like, we're not there to try to make him crumble. Like, that's not what we see our job as. And I think people in New York will. Like, I just think they'll see that vulnerability and they'll attack. Like, that's what they do. We're not out there for that. We're just out there to tell his story and all those things. Like, we don't think we're part of the story, and I think media there does. And that I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. Like, I think that there's fans and viewers that enjoy that, but it just hasn't been that way here or in the Bay Area. And I think it would be in New York.
Is the media in Vegas too forgiving? Because our other third host that kind of comes on, Rory, like just rips Vegas media all the time. Like they don't come down on these guys hard enough. They're just like, let them get away with these answers. Is Vegas like one of the most like gentle media markets?
Well, I think that there's a couple of things. First of all, it depends who you're talking about in the media. And there are people that dominate some of the press conferences that you're like, what are you doing? And I think for that reason, but there's order, which I think is this is really inside baseball, I think. But like in the press conferences, especially with Derek, obviously in the locker room, we're having one-on-one conversations that are very different. But with Derek on the podium and with Devontae on the podium, it's one at a time, right? It's your question, then your question, then your question. And the Raiders are very kind of particular about that. Like, no, you're not following up. You're not jumping. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. And if it wasn't that way, if you could have multiple, questions or follow-ups, I think it would be different. But it's like, okay, I have my question. I go in there and I have a question that I have to ask for my story. And I know what I have to ask for my story. And the guy before me asked a question where it completely lends to like, wait a minute, what? And you're like, you have to make the decision. Do I go after him and follow up? Like, wait a minute, no, and call him out on something? Or do I miss my opportunity to have, because I have to write my story for the week and I'm writing about this. Like, what do you do? And again, I don't look at it as our job to make them crumble. Like, I don't think that's our job. Like, our job is to tell the stories that we're working on, or we're going to tell, or that we think are important that week. And there are people that don't think that's the job. The job is, if I was there, I would make this person cry. Like, okay, like what is the point of that? Like, I don't understand that. It's for the readers and the listeners and the viewers to judge if somebody's being honest. And I think that, and a lot of times, like, there are ways to better get to the core of that. If somebody says an answer that you're like, yeah, you're not being honest here, to really attack that. But is that our job all the time? No, I don't think so. And I think part of it is the format for sure. And you see other places where it's just people screaming questions, which I think lends to a more adversarial relationship and probably a lot more, maybe entertainment for people. But is our job to provide entertainment or is it to provide stories? I don't know. I think that's a fair question, a fair criticism that I've thought a lot about.
Yeah, I think the first time that Carr gives one of those, like, we got to get better, and I'm going to work hard. It's going to start with me. We're going to work hard and keep going every single day in practice, and we'll get together. Once he gives one of those answers, freaking New York media is going to go up, and just keep on. I just don't see it, man. I don't see it happening.
And we have seen Derek Carr get sensitive about. Look, Derek's a sensitive guy. Like I don't think that's a criticism of somebody. I think there are people that handle things differently. I think he is fairly sensitive about a lot of the criticism and a lot of those things, which is different than a lot of other people are. And to your point, like there was one time where I think it was my first or second year covering the team where Derek started his press conference and he just said, he's like, you know what, this is about the team. We lost. I was part of that, and he takes responsibility, and then he goes, I couldn't even tell you my numbers. He's like, I only had 6 incompletions today. Do you think I know that or care about that? And I was like, wait, what? What did you just say? So it would have been an easy opportunity to be like, bro, you just say you don't care about numbers. You're lying. What are you talking about? But I think for the most part, a viewer would understand that, right? Somebody watching the press conference would understand what he just said was not genuine and not he contradicted himself. But is it our job to then scream back at him like you're lying? You just no. I think it's a listener, a viewer's job to say that, or us to write about what was said. And I don't think that would be the case in New York. I think they would just start screaming at him and yelling back and back. I just think it would be different. I don't know that that relationship works as well as it would in a different place.
Do you think, because Mark Davis is finally making real money as an owner, and we're seeing these reports where he's so mad that the stadium is 75% Chiefs fans or Niners fans. Do you think he gives that big of a shit? Or if the money's rolling in, he's fine? Where do you think Mark Davis is right now? DEFCON 2 because the coming off of a 6-win season when he thought it was going to be better? Or do you think he's Scrooge McDuck, right? Sifting through his bank vault. Where do you think he stands right now?
I think it would be different and it's crazy to say it, if he hadn't won the title with the Aces. I think it might be different.
Come on. That WNBA title's changing it for him?
He's so into that team. And he should look, dude, that
they win, bro.
He should be into it. And by the way, their offseason has been insanely good too. And I think he's so into it. It's kind of refreshing to see how excited he is about those games. So I think it'll be a little bit different. Look, I think he wants both. I think he wants his cake and eat it too, to use the cliche. But he wants to, sorry, too many messages coming. My fault. I'm doing this on my phone, so it's probably a mistake.
Nevada Sportswriter of the Year is a pretty popular guy. We get it.
True, it's true. Yeah. So I think what he wants is to have all that money coming in, have all the success at the business level, and have it all be Raiders fans. That's what he wants. But it wasn't going to happen in Las Vegas. That having a team in Las Vegas was always going to be about people coming in from everywhere to watch their team, and with good reason. That's what Las Vegas wanted. Obviously we wanted NFL, we wanted to have a team, we wanted a Super Bowl eventually, we wanted all those things, but Las Vegas wanted tourists. Las Vegas wanted people to come in. That's why Las Vegas invested the money that they did in a football stadium. So it was always going to be that relationship, that balance of, yeah, the Raiders are here, the town embraced them, the town loves them, and they're going to make a ton of money, but it's also going to be stadiums that are 50-50. And that's how by the way, the Knights have been a very successful franchise. It's kind of the same. It's not 50-50, but when Canada's here, when Canadian teams are here, it's a pretty strong contingent of Canadian teams. When the Blackhawks are here, or the Red Wings, or the Islanders, or the Rangers, it's a pretty strong contingent of road fans are at that stadium, and it's always going to be the same. And so it's going to be the same at Allegiant. I do think if they're, a dynasty type team, a franchise at some point, it'll be different because you'll have a lot of those big money people that are, that are just going to buy up the tickets and not sell off the tickets and have locals be there, and it'll be the place to be seen and all that. But right now, I think we as a city love the fact that people are coming in to watch these games. And the Raiders have to love the fact that they're making a lot of money and have, all this extra income that they can spend on other things. But you can't have it both ways, I don't think. If you want all local fans, all fans of the Raiders, you're not going to be making that same kind of money.
Mm-hmm. Adam, you should come on more often because you and I mean, we're right here. We're right here every single time.
Mm-hmm. It would be fun to cover a team that was, 95%, fans of, it was all, this rowdy rocking stadium. But I think the atmosphere is really good for the games. I don't think it's been, impacted that much. I think it's fun to watch it. I think it's cool. It's and it's not 50-50. I think there's some games where it's, 60-40, even 70-30 for the Raiders, but there are going to be those big games where people come in. But yeah, I just think it's the cost of doing business, and it's why they got so much money to build this stadium and why they're hosting 2 back-to-back Pro Bowls, the Super Bowl. It has
to be earned, right?
Yeah.
You can't be mad that you win 6 games and the last 2 games of the season you're eliminated from the playoffs and you've benched your quarterback. That guys with PSLs are like, I'm going to sell my tickets because I can get $700. Like you can't be mad at fans for like, I'm going to sell my ticket to a Niners fan. Like, why am I going to a meaningless game? Like, you got to earn it. You got to earn full stadiums of Raider fans.
One of my very close friends is not only a season ticket holder, but also an obsessed Raiders fan. Obsessed. Like walk into the house, it's just Raiders stuff everywhere. And he didn't go to the Niners game because he sold his ticket for that game and pretty much made almost his entire season back. And he was like, I can't say no. Like, I can't say no to that.
Yeah.
Because first of all, we're not, in his mind, we're not making the playoffs. It doesn't really mean that much. Like, why wouldn't I sell this ticket?
Yep.
And I yeah, of course, you're absolutely right. And I don't think you can even be mad at a fan for that.
No, you're paying for next year's tickets. Like, with those 2 games, you're paying for next year's tickets.
Of course. Yeah, he went and tailgated, sat in the parking lot, watched the game, watched the game in the parking lot, and had a great time.
How is tailgating at Allegiant? Because I remember they were like, I feel like they've been trying to squash it because they want you in the casinos, obviously, right? So it's like,
yes and no, but I think they kind of understand that balance. Like the reason there's not a whole lot of tailgating is because there's just not space. Like going back to when they were building the stadium, they had a couple of choices of where to put the stadium, and they put it where they did because it was such a cool view of the Strip. You could walk from the Strip. It was ingrained in kind of the landscape and the skyline of Las Vegas. But they also understood that they were going to have to sacrifice some things like parking, and the stadium actually, if you go in there, it's like the actual field, the seats, everything is beautiful. But like the concourses are somewhat not great. And it's not as wide as probably it should be because they had to build it in such a constricted area. And so I think they sacrificed some of what they could have done from a stadium perspective and a lot of what they could have done from a parking perspective to build where they did. But I think they've done a good job with what they have. There's a really small tailgating lot right across from the stadium where there's some really hardcore fans and some good area. And then across from that, closer to actually between the stadium and where the field sits when the games aren't going on. And then from there to those we were talking about some hotels, I think, before we went on the air. There's like a group of Marriott properties right over there.
Yep.
So between that area, there's a pretty big lot, and that is just jam-packed with tailgating area. I mean, that's a really, really good area to walk around, and the great food and people, just out there drinking, watching games, having a good time before the game. Like, that's a really good area. So I think the quality is very good. The quantity isn't great. Like, there's not a huge area to do it. But the area that they have, they've kind of figured out a good way to make it a great atmosphere. And then there is, I don't know how many people know this. If you haven't been in the stadium recently, you wouldn't. But there is an In-N-Out burger opening right next to the stadium.
Oh, good.
And so I think that is going to be nuts when that opens. I drove by today to get the Pro Bowl credential, and it's getting closer. So I think that's going to be a welcome addition for a lot of people. There's really nowhere to go. There's not. Yeah. There's a gas station and a strip club. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's the only place you can go.
Working on the UFC, they put us in one of those 3 Marriott hotels, and it's like, you're walking that gas station, or you're getting wings at the titty bar. Those are your options. That's
well,
it. Or Uber
Eats. A couple blocks away, there's a really, really good barbecue spot, but nobody even knows where it is. It's kind of buried in those.
It's like a Skinny Fats, like way deep in the commercial area. The other way, that's a 50-minute hike. Yeah, like
that's the other way from the stadium. But I mean, like 2 blocks over, like to the west, there's a really good barbecue spot. But yeah, Skinny Fats is amazing. But it's again, you walk opposite from the stadium and then walk all the way back to the stadium. Like that's not really a place to go. I can't imagine what that In-N-Out is going to be like on game day.
Regular In-N-Outs that have been around for 30 years, not near anything, have lines out the door already. Like I live in Long Beach, California. There's 3 In-N-Outs within 10 minutes from me. All lines
always
out the door.
Packed. Yeah.
Imagine on a game day.
You're not getting a burger on game day at In-N-Out. I'm telling you right now, not happening.
And the workers are going to pass out. It's going to be nuts in there.
They got to do pop-ups or something. Like it's just money. Like it's just money ready to be made. Like you got to put those trucks out there somewhere. Like it's just, you could print money with those things.
Oh, it's gonna be nuts. But they're so worried about quality of food all the time at In-N-Out that they won't expand quick enough.
That's why they're special. Quality of food. Before we let you go, best strip club and worst strip club in Vegas.
Oh boy. Like see. Oh, okay. Should I do worst? I don't know if I want to do worst. I'll tell you the best one. And there's really not a close second. It's called the Palomino.
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit north of town. Mm-hmm. It to me is by far the best strip club in Vegas.
No. Have you heard of the Palomino before?
I have. I have never gone though.
Never gone? Okay. Adam.
We'll go, Adam. We'll go.
Please explain.
Hit me up. I'll take you there. Well, I don't want to get into the details of why it's the best.
We'll do that when you're off. We're not sports writers of the year. We can go into the details.
You have a reputation to uphold here.
Sure.
Not us.
I look, the staff is really, really friendly, really accommodating.
Parking is ample.
There's great parking. You can go. You can go. Settle down. Don't be gross. You can go hang out at the Jerry's Nugget, which is right across the street. Play some blackjack. Get some drinks over there. The cafe, again, I'll make another Seinfeld reference. The Dream Cafe from Seinfeld, when Babu had like way too much on his menu, that's Jerry's Nugget. Jerry's Nugget has a page of Mexican, a page of Italian, a page of Greek. Like they have every kind of food imaginable. I'm like, focus on one thing.
Page of Mexican.
It's right there. It's right next door.
Yeah.
And so you go over there, have a great dinner, and then walk over to the Palomino. Which, by the way, if you're looking for like hidden secret, I don't even know if I should say this out loud, but they built a private VIP room for athletes and celebrities, and you can also rent that out as a regular person. It's not cheap, but it has its own entrance, its own like DJ. It's unbelievable, and they recruit better than Alabama, I've said. So
a lot of blue chip.
Yeah.
So if you walked in with your plaque, Nevada Sportswriter of the Year, would you get the back room, special area?
I'll say this. I won't give it away. There is a certain professional sports franchise that I have introduced to. It's not an NFL team. I've introduced them to the Palomino, and every time they're in town, they go over there. And some of the staffers last time they were in town were just blown away because it was only a couple weeks ago. And we walked in the front door and a bunch of managers came up and like, hey, it's the Nevada Sports Writer of the Year. What's up? Come on in. And got us a booth. So yes, that will happen. But it's only because I like to bring a crew there. I like to bring people in there and show them around. It's not because I am, there all the time or anything like that.
I hope it was a WNBA team. That would just make the story so much better. When the dignitaries are gone, so I'll tell you what really makes the Palomino so special. Worst strip club.
You can probably look it up.
Oh yeah, it's the only place west of the Mississippi.
Sure.
That has this rule set. I'll tell you when Adam's gone.
Sure.
Real quick.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna have to take your word for that. I don't even know what you mean by that.
Sure, you don't. Okay. Worst strip club ever. It's gone now, so we can shit on it. The Tally Ho. Do you remember the Tally Ho?
Yeah, first of all, no. It's Larry's Villa was worse.
Worse than the Tally Ho.
Worse than the Glitter Gulch.
Yeah, worse than anything. It's bad. I don't want to crush on a place. I'll tell you this. So you guys watch Bar Rescue?
Yes.
the bar rescue did a rescue of a gentleman's club in town that I would say is the worst.
Okay. And
Taffer went in there and just, lit them up. And it was so bad that, God, I don't want to give names here, but I will say I was watching the episode at a house party hosted by a very prominent person that you know very well, RJ. It was a house party at his house, and we were watching the bar rescue episode. It was so bad that we got in 3 Ubers from this house party and went there immediately because we had to experience how bad it was. And we got in there, and it was worse than we even thought. And bless this lady's soul, there was an older woman working in there, and she was like managing the place and bartending the place.
Yeah.
And Taffer was like, "You do both those?" And she's like, "Yeah, I gotta tend the bar, I gotta manage, I gotta do this." And then all of a sudden, at one point, she's dancing. And she's probably in her 60s. And he just goes, no.
Awesome.
No. Enough. This is not going to happen. But I'll say this. When we went in there after watching the episode, there she was tending bar and then going up on stage. And wow.
So that made it awesome, though. See, it's so bad, it's good.
Well,
it was uncomfortable, man.
The Tally Ho. Did you go to the Tally Ho back in the day, Adam? Remember
I've heard many stories, but I can tell you that the other place, Larry's Villa, which is gone, had to be much, much worse.
The Tally Ho had character. It was terrible, but it had character that made it novel. So the Tally Ho, Soto, imagine this. You go to a strip club. It's the size of my house, less than 1,000 square feet. Tiny, right? The dance floor, the stage, 4-foot diameter. That's it. You're basically dancing on a table. There wasn't a DJ. The girls had to put quarters in a jukebox to get their song to dance. No girl in there was under 180 bills. And the best part was, speaking of bills, they would not give you $1 bills. They would only give you $2 bills. If you gave them a $100 bill, they would give you 50 $2 bills. I still have a matchbook from that place. I'm going to put it in a shrine one day. Legendary spot.
Sounds like a good spot.
Unbelievable. We would go there before we went to the good titty bar. Right? As like a reverse palate cleanser type of thing. You know what I mean? Just to kind of get your mind right.
Well,
Adam Hill.
The other move, by the way, is before you go anywhere, go drink at Casino Royale. That's always my tip to people.
Oh, Casino Royale.
Drink there for nothing, and then get ready to go other places where you're going to have to pay a lot more.
Next time we have you on, Adam, we're gonna have you let's say I'm a fan or I've never been to Allegiant Stadium and I'm going there from like Friday to Monday. You're like, all right, what's the schedule? What as a debaucherous, like a me or Soto, right? Just like going to hell, totally debaucherous. What are we doing that weekend to get Vegas? That'll be the next time you come on.
I don't know if I'll be helpful because I'm a perfect angel and I have no idea what you're talking about. But
other people
Sure. I'll ask some people and find out what the debaucherous people do in Vegas from Friday to Monday. But I will also say last offseason, my project that I worked on much of the offseason was rating the NFL road trips in terms of you want to go to a road game. You're going to be there Friday night till Monday morning. What's the best place to go? What's the best and worst place to go? And like what the itinerary is for the weekend. And that was fun. Obviously, Vegas was one. And I'll say that Cincinnati was last. Cincinnati is one of the worst places I've ever been.
Wow. Last. Okay. We'll find out number 2 and second to last.
Yeah, Jacksonville is second to last. I'll tell you that. I'll give that away.
A lot of homework for Adam next time he comes on. The Nevada State Sportswriter of the Year. You catch him at the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Also, make sure you follow him on the Twitter machine at Adam Hill LVRJ. Adam, always a pleasure. Maybe are you going to be at the Apex this weekend for the fights? Or are you going to be doing all the Pro Bowl stuff?
Pro Bowl stuff.
Okay, which makes sense. The fights are on at 1 a.m. this weekend because they're supposed to be in Korea, so it's going to be
probably at Palomino. So we'll see.
Well, then maybe that's where I'll bump into you. Thanks, Adam.
Good times.
Thanks, Adam.
Congratulations for making it all the way to the end of our video. If you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes next season and for Max Crosby to have 30 sacks, go ahead and subscribe and click the next video.